people, show you got heart. Now we're playing the game and we're totally scoring, learning how to make or break your world of business boring, showing up every morning, ready for the show. I'ma get ready. Gold engaging virtual meetings 2.0.
Excellent. All right. My name is John Chen. I'm the CEO of Engaging Virtual Meetings. I actually wrote this little book here. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to do a class called Engaging Virtual Meetings. We're going to really try and help you in as many ways as possible with your virtual meetings. And so, but to do that, let me just tell you a little bit. How did I actually get to be here? So a couple things had to happen. And let me slide over here. There we go. All right, so I have an illustrious career in team building. I actually have, this is my 25th year of having my own company for team building, but of course in March of 2020, this little thing happened. What happened to me? I had 15 canceled programs. So, but it turns out that I've been online a long time. Does anybody remember what this is? If you do, just unmute and tell me if you know what this is.
I miss it.
Thank you, Patrick. So yeah, this is Prodigy. This was the first graphical-based interface online, and the reason why I was looking for this is that this program. I've been meeting online for 35 years. Pat, what did you go to any events or do anything on Prodigy?
No, it was just the first time where you could be on the internet and not be in some C colon, you're not in just a textual based, generally I think it was like one of the Seattle universities where you'd get in and you could download 5 downloads to get just a single piece of music.
It's funny too, Pat, is that the messaging on here, the one cool thing about all these platforms is that my brother and I actually became closer during this time because we were the only 2 people on it and we were sending messages to each other all the time. So. And that's really, I think, one of the cool things about virtual is that you can stay together. Because he was in San Francisco and I was in Santa Barbara at the time. And so, obviously it's a little hard to drive over and hang out. But being online made it easy. Thanks so much, Pat. So in addition to that, I've been online for quite a while. I wrote this book, 50 Digital Team Building Games, in 2011. And so I've been trying for years to get people online and say that, you could save the travel and expenses. You could actually get real work done. You could have dinner with your family at the end. And everybody up to before 2020 was like, well, that's a great idea, John, but here's a big fat check and I'll see you in Atlanta. That's for my Atlanta friends out here today. So what did I do? What had nothing to do in my office? I put a course out called Virtual Team Building. This was my gift back to coronavirus saying, how are we going to deal with this challenge? Remember go back a little bit in March 2020 about how much chaos was going on and how much we didn't know at the time and how much was changing. So it turns out 5,000 people took this course and my publisher came back and said, hey, John, do you want to write your second book? And I said, sure, let's do that. So I wrote my second book in 1/3 of the time, and it hit the October 2020. It hit the #1 Amazon hot new release, and now I spend most of my time producing, designing, producing, and speaking and emceeing virtual meetings. So here's a couple of fun ones I got to produce. This is Jay Bonasinga from The Walking Dead, if there's any Walking Dead fans. Patrick Lencioni from the 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. This is Elizabeth Gilbert from Eat, Pray, Love. Sold 16 million books, and of course Julia Roberts played her. And of course, hopefully you know this guy, Damon John, who's a shark and the founder of the $1 billion FUBU. All right, so how many of you speak at virtual meetings? So either raise your hand, raise your virtual hand. I see a few have cameras off. So remember, you can do reactions, raise hands. So thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Devon. So a bunch of you speak at virtual meetings. So I want to give you my #1 tip for speaking at virtual meetings. Here we go. All right, the tip sounds simple, but it's stand up. And it's amazing, it's 22 months after the pandemic. And that even a lot of these professionals, if you actually saw all those professionals on the other screen, they're still sitting down, right? And so if you're presenting, look for different ways to stand up, right? You could use this very amazing crafty way to do it, or that you can look for other different ways, which is have a table that rises up, right? Even if people can't see the bottom part of you, those who know anything about physiology or presenting know that if you stand up, you'll be perceived differently. And even if you don't have that, just get some boxes and get your camera to eye level, and then you can stand up. So there's a number of different ways that you can do this. So if you want to know, you know, you guys are special guests here. I just want to show you how this is actually being done. So this is what, I didn't just build a green screen. I actually built a cube. So if you can see up here in the top corner, right, this is how I'm doing this. And this is where I'm starting to see what is the future of virtual, right? And this is not that difficult. All these techniques are available. They're actually not that expensive, but you can really make a big impact in a meeting if you meet with people virtually like this. So one of the things that we're going to do here is that we're going to, I'm going to give you 6 tips. And it's with the words engage. And the 6 steps, every letter stands for something, and every time you do one of the letters, it will give you greater odds of your meeting being perceived as engaging. Okay, great. So let's see if I got it here. All right. The first letter is an easy one, is E, is engage and interact with every attendee. Actually, now let's see. I'm going to run a poll, and I just want to see on average for people how engaging are your other virtual meetings, right? So I believe we have poll coming up. Check it out. Perry, go ahead and unmute if poll is not there.
Yeah, John, looking for poll.
Let's see if I have poll.
All right.
Oh yes, of course we have there. There we go.
Okay. Thank you.
So there's poll, and on a scale of 1 to 10, right, with 10 being all my meetings on average are really engaging, and 1 is they're not. Go ahead and hit that poll. So here in engage, right, one of the keys that I have is that if you want engagement, is engage. And so it sounds simple, but there's a lot of people not doing it. So like now, we're already reaching out to people. Like actually, I got a chance to meet Pat last week, right? We got to meet Devon and Brittany from Atlanta. So there's simple things. You can talk, you can chat, right? You can do a poll like this to get different forms of engagement or anything else like that. But the plan for you is, if you're in charge of the meeting, is have a plan to engage and interact with every attendee before the end of the meeting. Let's go ahead and let's see the results of this poll. And let's see. Let's bring on. Let's bring on Andrew. So Andrew, you see the results of the poll. Can you just kind of tell me what do you think about these results?
It's kind of what I've normally seen with a lot of meetings. The truth is, there's usually a lot of the low end of sort of, here I am, and I'm going to give information. And then there might be a little bit more of like, how do I actually try and talk to people? But this looks fairly standard, at least from a lot of the stuff that I've seen or talked to people about.
And I'm peeking here, like I got a 2, 3, a 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So the average is probably like 5 or 6, right? Sound about right? Okay,
Right.
perfect. Either give me the best or worst example of engagement in your last 22 months, Andrew, if you don't mind.
On most meetings.
And tell me one of the factors of it. Right?
It just usually people who are thinking in terms of like, well, here I am, and I'm just going to tell you what these things are. And so what you end up seeing on the other side is people either who will not engage, they're not asking anyone for anything. They're really just thinking, let me tell you things and let you absorb it.
Yeah. Okay. So pontificating, right?
Yes.
Right? So, yeah. Just keep on talking. Yeah. So that's what we tell people all the time, right? An engaging meeting is not a 60-minute meeting where I talk for 60 minutes. That's not engaging. That's a video.
Right.
And do me the favor, send me the video and let me watch it on my own time. Don't make me, register and come and be here at a particular time. All right. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Perry, for the results for that. Let's see if we move along here. All right. So the next letter here is how many of you now host your own meeting? So again, if you host your own meeting, you can raise your hand or your virtual hand. So again, you're the one who is arranging the meeting. Perfect, thank you so much. Yeah, so the challenge here is the overwhelmed host. And I have a friend, and she started running a meeting in March of 2020. And let me see, I have all the things that she needs to do for that meeting. Let's check here. Okay, So when she starts to run that meeting, here's all the things that she needs to do. She writes the marketing rights registration, set up her Zoom, ran her own security, kept track of engaging with every person, recorded, streamed to Facebook Live, shared her own slide deck, chatted with attendees while presenting, set up and ran the breakout room. She shared the video and chat logs after the meeting. And at the end, how did she feel? Just unmute and give me a word about how she might have felt.
Overwhelmed.
Crazy.
Overwhelmed. I think that should be a new word called overwhelmed. So yeah, again, that's what it is. What I can tell you here first too, right? Even after being online for 35 years, I have been caught on mute, right? And so number one, I first want to tell you, it's not your fault. Right? This technology is not designed in such a way that is completely intuitive for you, like being physically in a meeting room, things like that. All right, so that's the first one. And the second one is the N in engage stands for never meet alone. And so that means to look for different ways that you can split up some of the meeting responsibilities, all right? So that's like, let somebody take over the chat or the admitting or muting other people or things like that. One of the easiest roles is a producer. So today, joining me from Hong Kong is Perry. So Perry's joining me from Hong Kong, and he actually got a chance to produce a meeting with my good friend Tyler Paris yesterday. He runs a cohort of chief of staffs. Chief of staffs are people that report directly to the CEO. So he has a high value audience. And he uses a producer like Perry and myself so that he can really do the number one thing. So as the speaker, stay focused on you, right? You, the attendee. So that's the N in engage stands for never lead a meeting alone. If you're on Zoom, my friend Gil coined the term never Zoom alone. All right, the next one is bad background. So you probably saw some of these bad backgrounds online, in the last 22 months. I'm too close to my camera. I froze because my internet died. My camera is too high. And my good friend, I have no idea how to use a green screen. So, one of the things that we like to say is good looks, all right? The G in engage stands for good looks, which is number one, get the best camera and lighting that you can, right? There's 3-point lighting, right? There's great cameras, 4K cameras that you have under $100 that can really make a difference. And then after that, if you have a physical background, arrange your items. So if you look carefully, when I sit inside this background, everything is arranged for where my head is, right? And then I carefully put some items in here because your background can be talking for you when you're not saying anything at all. So this is actually a patent that I got from from Microsoft for my time I worked a decade at Microsoft. This is my book, says, hey, I'm an author, maybe I know something. This is a photo of me. So let's see, I think we just had somebody, hey, Brian, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, sir.
Great. So this photo is me skydiving. So you just met me, right? If you just saw this photo of me tandem skydiving, what might it say to you about me?
You're adventurous.
There we go. Yes, I'm adventurous. Have you ever gone skydiving, Brian?
Not quite.
So if you had a photo in your background, what might be one of your photos?
Bagpiping.
Oh my gosh, you're Scottish?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. One of my favorites is that there's a golf course here in Seattle, and every day at sunset, they have a bagpiper as a tradition, comes out and plays bagpipes at sunset. So, excellent. Well, thank you, Brian. So, let me just talk about how, good looks can really make a difference. So I had a friend, he was interviewing, and it turns out he looked up his interviewer on LinkedIn, and she turned out to be a Lakers fan. So he changed his background to this. And so what happened with it is that when he got the interviewer logged on, and she stopped for a second, and then she said, "You got me." So, so then they end up talking about the Lakers. So they're talking about the Lakers for 4 or 5 minutes, and he noticed that she really warmed up. So the good news of the story is that she was pretty impressed, and in the end, he got the job. So this is how backgrounds can really matter. And so for those of you who are selling, right, or meeting people or doing business, your background can really be doing something for you. It can be saying something for you without saying anything at all. So, all right, so the next challenge that we have here is on Zoom is that people talking over each other. So until the technology gets better, all right, 2 people can't talk at the same time and have it be engaging. So that's really one of the keys. And our solution for that is A. The A in engage stands for air traffic control. This is a video of 5,000 flights in the United States, and they all flying around and they don't crash into each other. Why? Because you have air traffic control. So if you're the host of a meeting, right, and people are talking over each other, it's a little bit your fault. You help create the culture of the meeting. And one of the things you can do is air traffic control. So you'll see I'll use multiple different ways that if two people talk today, we'll find a way to resolve that smoothly and easily. And you'll find that your meetings actually go faster with that. And again, the normal one is raise hands, but so, it feels a little kindergarten sometimes. You can really work off of different techniques, especially if you meet with that group more than once. All right, the next one is can't work online. I've had 7 PhDs at a university in March of 2020. They reported to me that they met online. They were trying to make a critical decision for their students. In a 1-hour meeting, they could not make the decision. And that was because they never had this, they don't have the systems, right, to make those decisions, and they've never practiced, right, doing that. They were trying to figure out the system online. Now it's 22 months to it. The real key here is the G in Engage stands get productive with virtual tools. So look for all the different tools that you have. Every platform has a great set of tools. In addition to that, there is a huge set of tools outside of each of the platforms, and there's definitely a tool to get that done. And we'll give you some examples of some of those tools, but that's really key for you is to find which tools work best for your audience. Especially here, we're getting 22 months now into the pandemic. One of the things to go look at is that people are now have the basics down. Now they're looking for the next thing, like what can we do to make this meeting engaging? All right, the last one is this, Zoom fatigue. All right, so how many of you have had Zoom fatigue in the last 22 months at least once? There you go. Who is this? This is my new friend. Let's see. That's Shayna. Hello, Shayna. She's definitely saying yes. Shayna, actually, this is a good question. So everyone, while we're here, go ahead and chat. And tell me, what's the maximum number of hours that you've been on in a day? Shayna, what's the maximum number of hours that you've been on any video meeting in a single day? You can actually tell me, because we actually have you up here. Yeah, that's
nice.
right.
So 8 hours at least. I mean, I've been full days back-to-back meetings virtually.
Yeah, perfect. And so mine used to be 16. I actually did a 16-hour Zoom meeting, and then I got hired. I had a friend wanted to break a world record. We ran a 25-and-a-half-hour Zoom meeting.
Whoa, that's gnarly.
Right. And so number one is I know it's not. I don't recommend it, but number two, I just want to say it's possible, right? So what did your Zoom fatigue feel like? Like what happened to you when you got fatigued?
My eyes, I'll say physically, it presented physically. So like my eyes, I had like dry eyes and trouble focusing, like the vision was actually changing. I would also say that it was, I had kind of like bleacher bottom for lack of a better word, because I didn't get up and move enough either. That's something else I've really realized is that with working remote and working from home, it's like I gotta put timers and stuff so that I'm getting up and moving and changing position more. So physically, it really has presented that way for me.
Bleacher bottom. I'm going to use that. I'm going to give you credit for giving. I don't think I've ever heard of bleacher bottom. So do you mind? Do you want to hear a story, and I'll share a little research from Zoom fatigue?
That'd be great.
Okay, great. So I was meeting on a different platform for 2 hours, right? And it was a different platform. It was a super intense meeting. So I got up after the meeting ended, logged off, right? Went to my bedroom and did this.
Crashed.
I just passed out, right? I was wiped out. Just pulled the covers over, and I didn't wake up till the next day.
Wow.
And I'm just like, what truck hit me?
Yeah.
And then the second one is like, why did this happen? And so I really dove in, and I actually got to meet some authors of the research that's coming out there. And so here are 3 of them. There's more research coming out here too, but the top 3 are this. Number one is you don't have the muscle for it, right? So like if you tried to meet for 8 hours in a day and you had not been practicing at all, it's like if you've never done CrossFit, right? And you don't work out and you try to do CrossFit, it's gonna hurt, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the same virtually. That's why conferences right now should not like mirror the 8 or 12 hour, format of a conference, because virtual is different. So anyways, that's the first one, is that you don't have the muscle for it. So like now I've developed the muscle. I can actually do a 25-and-a-half-hour meeting, right? Only because I've been practicing for so long. All right. The next one is this, right? Is, and your name again is Shayna, right?
Shayla.
Shayla. Oh, thank you so much. Okay,
Yeah.
So Shayla, have you ever had that great meeting? It's really important, right? And at the most intense time when the best point was going to be given?
Wait for it. Wait for it.
I know, I'm just messing with you now. Which is, you know, if you have technical problems, right? If you have technical problems, then you spend a lot of energy straining trying to figure out, you know, who's elongated values and you're frozen and whatever. And so that can also give you the fatigue, right? Then the third thing is this. Like, you know, imagine you logged into this meeting and it sounded like this. Well, I'm going to teach you all about how to create engaging meeting. Like now she's nodding off. I can put her to sleep, right?
I'm like, where's the 1.5 speed button? You know, like watching YouTube. Where do I speed this guy up, man?
That's a great feature for live. We should try and figure that out. I'm actually hacking on LinkedIn Learning. And LinkedIn Learning, you get certificates for finishing the course. So if you run it at 2x, you can actually finish them in half the time. And because they post to your LinkedIn profile.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious. So, you know, what I'm trying to say is if your speaker's not engaging, that's the other reason for Zoom fatigue, right? So, so thanks for that. And the last solution that we have here for this, the last E in engage stands for this. E is end on a high note. And end on a high note says, you know, we got this from product market research. And product market research says, if you have a 60-minute demo with your product, right? And you architect a high note with a product, like some amazing thing or whatever, in the last 5 minutes, people are more likely to buy. And what we like to say is that your virtual meeting is exactly the same way. So I see you're here with public health. You know, what's something that you're quote unquote selling or you're trying to do? It's like, are you, one of your campaigns, are you on the COVID for public health or something else going on right now?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I'm a nurse, and so
Yay!
I am all about harm reduction and, you know, prevention, and so education. Those are things that I tend to be platforms that I'm part of, where we're promoting messaging and practices.
Right. So let's say that you said something about masks or something about social distancing, like something I'm sure that you support. And so that's what we're saying as a high note, right? This is one of the things that you could give at the end, right? I think I saw one of them, like if you're vaccinated, you're 17 times less likely to end up in a hospital, right? And they actually have that. So that would be, you know, something like that could be a high note with that. Inside of a program. So showing a video, recounting, giving some kind of stunning fact, those are all different ways. So those are the 6 things, and we're going to look how to apply all of them. So thank you so much. And what we're going to do here is that we're going to actually get a chance to talk with some of the people in the class. And so I'm going to have you introduce yourself. If you want to talk, just raise your hand, your physical hand or your virtual hand. And then the other one here is that when you introduce yourself, just use your name, location, and one virtual meeting challenge. So with that, I'm going to do some cool stuff here and see if I can bring everybody in. Here we go. Hold on one sec. And okay, here we go. All right, so we have some people with us. So who'd like to introduce themselves? Again, you can just raise your physical hand, your virtual hand. You can, better off too, you can just unmute. So who would like to do that? All right, great. Let's go to Andrew. Thanks, Andrew.
Hi, my name's Andrew McMasters. I'm located in the Seattle area. And one of the things that I think is a challenge for me is getting people who are unwilling to get on video or unwilling to engage, finding ways to engage them. So finding ways to engage people who are more introverted participants.
Yeah, so one of the best parts is I do teach a class, Andrew, called Turn on the Damn Camera, right? And so one of the pieces that I do with that is that turns out that, and again, you can come hang out with that. I'll tell you 10 different ways to do it. But one of the things that we can do is let's see, let me hold on right there. Have you seen Google's research, a project called Google Aristotle? Okay, so one of the things that they looked at for high-performing teams, they found that one of the highest factors for performing teams that they all had in common, especially when teams were radically different, was psychological safety, right? So engagement, I think, here on virtual is the same way, right? People engage when they feel safe. So if you look, we've been trying to do a multitude of things for people to feel safe here. So that's like trying to address them, talk with them, right? Even give them different ways to participate, right? So even if you are like off camera, you can chat, you can, there's lots of different ways, and virtually like everything is okay kind of thing. So that's one of the things I can really see in terms of engagement. So watch this program, Andrew. As again, I'm looking for different ways to engage people. And Andrew, actually, I got one of the best compliments. So for those who logged in early know that I opened the doors a few minutes early, right? And we were doing something called connection before content, which is, there's research behind it, which says, take the time, we miss that chit chat that we used to have before a meeting started. We could actually learn something personal about each other before the business. And I had a person come into that part of the program, and before the program started, he goes, John, I just want to let you know, I am a self-admitted introvert. And I said, this is the most comfortable I've ever felt in any virtual meeting since March of 2020. And so that, I think, is one of the ways to look. Like, you really need to engage people, but the whole key, Andrew, too, is engage them in the way they want to be engaged, right? Not necessarily the way that you want to be engaged. Thanks so much, Andrew. Let's see who'd like to go next. Welcome, Julie Cooper. Anybody else like to go next? Again, you can just unmute.
I'll go.
Thanks, Patrick.
You're welcome. So I'm Pat Michaels. I'm just south of Boston, Mass. I mean, technically it's Halifax, but whenever I say that, people always think I'm in Nova Scotia. So it's just easier to say south of Boston. I think one of the biggest issues that we've had with virtual meetings, and it's how do we get it so that people can rewatch the material and it's in a good enough quality that they're able to, the people who weren't able to attend live or wanted to come back to it, it's not a big, compressed mess. And I know we've talked about this before, John, but I figure if it's an issue I'm having, other people are probably having it as well.
Perfect. So, Pat, one of the things that I've been using is Zoom's cloud recording, right? And so the key for this is right now, this program, for instance, is recording to the cloud. One of the secrets of it is that you can record multiple angles. So if I'm a video editor, right? And one of the things for me is that you never get the right angle. If you let Zoom change the camera, it's always 3 seconds late, right? Pat starts talking, his camera comes late. Somebody does a joke, right? You want to see everybody laugh and you don't have the gallery. So one of the things that you can do with that is record multiple angles, right? And I've actually gotten very high quality. So I'm running 4K monitors, and when I have enough bandwidth, sometimes that video records in up to 4K quality. And that's actually pretty impressive that way. And then the last thing that really happens is that, watch this, Pat. So all of you actually today, I'm going to do this for you. I'm going to send you back a link to this recording on that cloud, because one of the coolest things right now is, if you can see, is that, I'm sorry. One of the things that you can see is that we have captions running. So if you wanted to watch the captions, you can have the captions. But the benefit, even if you turn off the captions that are in their way, is that I'm getting a transcript. And in that transcript, right, I could actually search for the word Pat. And the first time I either said Pat or Pat said something, it will search the transcript and fast forward me to that part in the video. And I think that's a miracle right there. That's a tool that we need. You want stuff to be more watchable. And if you find out, the real key is that as trainers, we are all just-in-time trainers, right? We just want to get that one piece of information, right? So I'm installing a new camera and I'm watching YouTube videos, and let me tell you, I am jamming through the video trying to find the 4 seconds I need to fix the problem I have. So anyway, so I think that's really one of the keys for recording. On YouTube, another benefit that I've just discovered, a lot of people may be using it, is chaptering, which is if you put time marks in your video, after you put it up on YouTube, in the description you put time marks, it chapters it, like it will actually break up the video with titles, and then you can click on it from the description and jump directly to that section. So, Pat, does that help you at least in a couple different ideas? I know quality is the first one.
It does. Now, the transcription portion, is that only if you're using the cloud recording within Zoom? Or if you record to your desktop, do you still get the transcription ability where someone could go in and search it if they were to get the link?
You get the file But Zoom put it all together so you can search it, right? And by the way, Teams actually Microsoft Teams has something called Streams, and when you record a Teams meeting, if you have the right package, it will automatically record the same way, create a transcript, and be searchable. So it turns
the downside with the Teams one though is for Microsoft Stream to work, you have to be in the client of, like, you have to be within that environment. So like we couldn't do this all in Teams and everyone could access the stream because only only the people within that host could access the stream.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I send you this link, everybody can access it. So and it's running in a browser, right? So basically Zoom said, I'll put it all together for you. And you can also see the chat. Right, you can also see the chat with time marks, which I also find is a benefit. So in the end, Pat, I mean, there's two things that are really happening. Either number one, you produce your program and run it in such a way that you don't have to do any editing, and that's what I've really tried to get to on this program. Right? I'm not going to lie, Pat. I'm lazy, right? Because the second one is that if you otherwise you got to go backwards and edit it a lot. And I can tell you that I should spend over 8 hours on an hour of video, right, trying to get it to a higher level. In fact, I actually spent 9.5 hours on a 90-minute program just fixing the captions, right? Because I wanted the captions to actually be 100% accurate, not just 80% accurate. And it took me 9.5 hours. So yeah.
The other side with the editing. Oh, sorry, John.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Pat.
With the editing, when you start getting into the editing, you almost can be taking away the personality, the flow of what's happening, because I prefer to watch people stumble through their words, make some mistakes, because it's relatable and it's not like cut and I say this and then it's cut and then I say this. It just, to me, I'd rather get that stuff because I can always, in a recording, I can zip through it if I need to.
Yeah. And so, this is why live, I mean, also broadcasting live programs, if you have the ability to do it, there's some other things to do it, but in a live program like this, right? If I stumble over my words, you saw me do it, right? And you also see me as a live speaker recover from that, hopefully. And so I'm with you. And really one of the keys that comes back to this, Pat, is, in engaging virtual meetings, right? You'll see why I use almost no pre-recorded material, right? I want this meeting to be different because you're here, Pat. Right? Otherwise, why bother? Otherwise, I'll ship you a video. Yeah, thank you, Shayla. Shayla, getting applause from Shayla. And so, yeah, this is why it should be a meeting, right? Every single one of these meetings I run is different because of the different people that show up. And I want it to be that way. So thank you so much for that, Pat. Let's see, I got a time for one more person at least to meet until we move along. We have other cool stuff to do too. Does anybody else want to introduce themselves? Let's see, so Julie, Kyle, Devon, Brittany, I haven't yet heard from you, so if you'd like to share. All you got to do is unmute.
Hey, how you doing? This is Devon Frey. I am with DCMA Atlanta, located in Smyrna, Georgia, or as we said at the beginning, Atlanta. One of the challenges that we face, unfortunately, with some of our systems, the connectivity to things like some of the systems we use where we have the video chat feature, or not video chat, but I guess the ability to use video like via Zoom, via Teams, etc., does not work with our bandwidth. So what we find a lot of times is that we have to do, conference calls or meetings without video. And so my question for you is, in those scenarios, are there any tips in regards to how we can be more engaging, etc.?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The funny part is Andrew's shaking his head too. I think hopefully he's got some stories along with me. I worked at Boeing, and 20 years ago, we actually pioneered a course that we sent a DVD. It was hyper-threaded, meaning that you could watch a video, right, and then pick a choice, and then you would watch a backstory of the same situation from another view, right? And then we debriefed it over a telephone call. And the number one thing is actually kind of like the technique I'm using here. I call it go ahead caller, right? So you know how on a radio station, right? Like let's say if Brian calls in, say, hey, this is Brian Links, right, from Scotland or something like that. I'm like, go ahead, Brian. So we created a protocol which says if you want to talk, you got to say your name. say, hey, this is Brian, right? So then I'm the DJ, I got to acknowledge him. Yeah, go ahead, Brian. So that's how, because we couldn't see each other for the visual cues, that's how we would prevent talking over each other. That also prevented confusion from, who the heck is talking, right? So, and like this, even if Devon starts talking, he doesn't say his name. As the host of the meeting, I would say, oh, great, thank you, Devon that was Devon from Atlanta. So, right, I would try and smooth that piece over. So in audio conferences, I can tell you that I do that. And now, Devon, do you want my number one secret for engagement?
I think I know what it is, but yes, sir, go ahead.
Oh, really? Okay. Have you ever used a participation map?
Oh, no, I don't. No, sir.
Ah, bam. Okay, so there's enough. So one of the things that we're doing is like this. Brian, can you tell me what's to the left of your name in your Zoom name now? Just remember to unmute.
I don't have my glasses on, John. Hold on a second.
All right, how about Shayla? Shayla and Andrew also have one too.
It's an emoji, and it's kind of been bringing me down because it doesn't look like it's smiling.
Oh, Perry. So what we're doing right now, so a participation map works like this, Devon. In a conference call, I used to like put the names of people on a piece of paper, and then across was time. And when people talked, I would put marks on it, right? Or maybe a word or a note. And so now this is how I can know, right, that Devon, for instance, didn't say anything until now. Now, Devon actually has got an emoji. So I'm going to start preferencing people who haven't talked, right? And so that's my goal. Like, that's one of my plans. Like, how do I engage everyone before the end of the meeting? And even in this case, let's say Brittany is quote unquote shy, although I heard her, she doesn't sound shy, but let's just pretend like she is. I would get to the end. I also have a rule in my meeting that says pass. So if I wanted to ask Brittany to talk, right? And I'd say, so Brittany, do me a favor. When I ask you a question, just say the word pass, right? So, hey, Brittany, do you want to contribute anything?
Hat.
Genius. Right, perfect timing. Thank you, Brittany. So yeah, so you could say pass, and what that means is I tried to engage you, and you just, and it's okay for whatever reason, right? I say I don't want to waste the time, I don't have anything to contribute, right? I'm an introvert. She could just say pass, and there's that means that I tried to engage her, so I could give her a mark, right? And say I tried to engage you, and now I don't have to come back around until later to get to you. So anyways, a participation map is a key engagement tool and can definitely be used on a telecon. Sound good, Devon?
Yes, that sounds good. Thank you. I'm going to try that.
All right, excellent. So let's do this. Speaking of try that, let's do this. I'm going to come back here and let's see if I can do this part here. Okay, great. So what I have here is a piece here. Let's see, sorry. I'm running a new system on a live stream, so I got to figure out where I'm at. Okay, there we go. Aha. Okay, I got it right. So this time, what we're going to do is this. So we talked about good looks. So what we want to do is I want to tell you that right now, go to the chat and tell me what you see and what it means to you in this background. So it could be anything, right? So for instance, I see his Rolex. So maybe I think he's loaded, right? Or he's successful. So go ahead and chat me this item. So, and I'll tell you a story about him. So basically, he was turned 180 degrees, which meant his camera was into the light. And that meant he was really dark, right? When you point a camera into the light, you get overexposed. He also had two lace doily curtains that were to the left and right of him. And then he completely changed his background to this. And when I tell you what he does, right, you'll see that it really started to help him. Okay, excellent. So Julie says books, right? Shayla says, love how staged this looks. Oh, good. So Shayla does love this. Good. Stocks on TV. Yeah, Brittany. Brian says, professional, confident, and ready for Zoom. Right? Andrew says, stock market. So let me give you some of the items here. I'm going to decode his background. And then more importantly, I'm going to share the result. So here is behind me is a chess set. Right? So that's a beautiful stone, like soapstone chess set. And some people said that he was smart. He was smart, and that he was, or that he was, what's the other word for it? Oh, that he was maybe a gamer, or he was strategic, right? Here, let me remind you the best thing here. He hasn't started talking, right? He hasn't said a word yet. So all these things that you're judging from him, right, all come off of visual. And this is why good looks, I think, is so important. He's got his Rolex suit, right? He's clean shaven, suit with no tie, right? He's business ready. He put C-SPAN, he put a TV up in the back, and he ran it with no volume. And he said his inspiration was a news station. So he really wanted to show that he was up on current events. A lot of people also saw that. Somebody thought, is he the CEO of Lyft? Because Lyft was on here as a stock chart. But he has a journal over here on the bottom. He has a notepad and a phone. He has a book, so that someone noticed the books. Thank you for that. And that the book says, do one thing every day that scares you. And so that said that he values courage. Now, let me just tell you this part, right? And show you the one thing that's amazing about this background. And it's not because of the things that you see. It's the things that you don't see. Look again. There's no computer, right? He's got no hint of a computer. No mics, right? No anything. In fact, what he's done is that he's giving you the impression of being seated across the desk from him. So how does he do this? He put a table in front of his desk. He put his laptop on it and angled the camera to hit the bottom edge of the desk there. He turns on the virtual meeting, then walks around the desk and sits down and runs his whole meeting. This does two really great things for him. Number one, it gives you, the attendee, the exact same impression as if you were seated there by his assistant, right? And now you're sitting across the desk from him, right? And number two is he has to focus solely on the conversation, because he can't touch his computer. So he can't multitask, right? And he's a little ADD, to be honest. And so this actually really helped him to stay connected inside of that conversation. So he's the chief revenue officer for a fast-growing consulting company. And whether or not you like this background or not, is that the number one thing he said is that he started selling more. All right, I'll repeat that. He started selling more. And again, remember, his inverse was like pointed into a camera, too dark with lace doily curtains. So your background can really matter a lot. And so what we'll do with this is that, chat to me is one of the second most engaging tools on virtual. The first one is this: turn the camera on the audio. We know how this works. And so chat is the second most engaging tool. So let's do this. Everyone just go to the chat. Devon, scammer. Just kidding. So that was a chat from Devon. Everyone go to the chat and just think, what's an idea, one or two ideas that you have to improve your own background, right? Or somebody else you know's background. So it could be lighting, it could be a camera, right? Still 22 months, I'm coaching thousands of people. Camera angle is still really a key one. So it shouldn't be pointed up, it shouldn't be pointed down, right? Really, it should be looking like this, like eye level. So while you work on those chats, Brittany, yes, the brighter, the better. Again, try and think of any improvements that you'd like to make to your own setup. And again, I'll continue on why chat is so important. The best guidelines I can give you about chat is this: show chat early, encourage people to chat as often as possible, okay? And really look and see, quite often I get somebody, or I am the person to light up the chat. Like, you're responsible for that. So you can see right now, like, Perry is responsible for the chat. So he has the ability to answer questions. Also, remember too, Perry, if you can show Patrick how to add the emojis next to the participants. Otherwise, Patrick, stay at the end of the class and we'll show you how to do that. We'll give you the capabilities of doing that. So last with that, we're actually going to go and do, we said, get productive with virtual tools. So I want to show you this piece. We're going to do something called an engaging virtual meetings poem. And so let me give you the rules for this. So Perry is going to chat you a link to a Google document. And we're all going to try and link to that document. So as soon as you click the link, you should be able to edit this document. And here are the rules of what we're going to do. Rhyming is the name of the game. Don't forget to start with your name. Make sure everyone has a turn. Right? Add as many lines as you can before you adjourn. Don't be shy. Be proud. Pick a friend to read it aloud. So this says, you want this to rhyme somehow. When you write a line, write with your name, because I just want to know who wrote it. All right? You won't say your name, but I just want to know who wrote it. Make sure everyone has a turn. So try and get everybody who's on here, even if you're off camera, to write one of the lines. And then add as many lines. So if we have enough time, try and add as many lines. And then at the end, whoever shares the screen, I'm going to ask you to choose somebody else to read the poem. All right. So, meanwhile, let me come back here. So let's do this. Who has opened the document and can edit it? So again, if you can open the document and edit it. You can unmute and just let me know. Julie, all right, great. Julie, can you share your screen, please? There we go. So Julie, I'm going to unmute you, okay? By the way, that's the other thing I've done. I've tried to get rid of you're on mute. I've worked really, really hard, right? So one of the ways to do that, there is a new feature in Zoom where you have the ability to ask people for permission to mute and unmute you. And that's one of the ways you can get rid of you're on mute. So in this case, right, I don't have to tell that to Julie. I just click the button. All right, Julie, I think we're seeing your screen, right?
I think so.
All right, we're going to take, I'm going to give I got a 6-minute timer. And so you want to try and get everybody to add a line to this. So Julie, you're now in charge of this meeting for the next 6 minutes.
Oh, great.
Good luck.
Thanks. All right. So can everybody start typing?
Great. So again, Julie, you feel free to chat with anybody and try and get some of the lines here. We're trying to get them to rhyme somehow.
Okay. Back to the chat.
Pat, are you in deep thought? 4.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, I'm stuck in what rhymes with camera.
I said it had to rhyme somehow. I didn't say it had to rhyme exactly, just so you know, Pat.
I know, but I'm still stuck in what rhymes with camera.
Giraffe. Julie, you have to add a line too.
Okay.
Just because you're sharing doesn't mean you're off the hook. See what's happening now too? This is like a horse race. See how 4 lines are being written at the same time? This is one of the cool things about virtual, right? Sometimes it's better, right? This is something that would be really hard to do in person. But in virtual, here, while you do this, I'll tell a story. We got 3.5 minutes. One of my friends actually in a conference got 40 people to write an entire case study in 90 minutes as they were all simultaneously editing a Google document. The kicker of the story was he did it in 2010.
Wow.
This capability's been around for a long time, and people really haven't used it to its fullest extent. But imagine that. You got 8 high-performing team members, right? You could get 8 times the amount of work done together, right? If you just found the way to do it at a high pace. Andrew's smiling, right? He's just. Why are you smiling so much, Andrew? I'm just curious.
This was actually a tool that my wife and I had used during a job when I was working in Lima, Peru, and we couldn't communicate. I couldn't call her because of the way that things were working. And however, I did have online access. This is many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And so we would open up a Google Doc and we would chat to each other during the time. That was the best way to do it. So.
That's a really cool story.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like emails. You know, when you really make a relationship over email, it's a very thin bandwidth channel, but you can actually do a lot. I mean, look at texting.
Yeah.
So, and that's for Devon, right? This is a great tip of like when you don't have the technology you want, you got to look and for like how can you maximize the technology that you have. 2 minutes left. So, Julie, I believe we're getting close. So, 1, make sure that everybody contributes a line, and number 2, make sure and choose somebody else to read this.
Okay.
And then you'll have to click OK on your dialogue here. You're covering a little bit of the words on the top right. Here, this is also a cool tip, right? So if you annotate and use the arrow, this is an arrow that I believe can, right? You can annotate on other people's windows. I believe you should. And you can help point to things. It's actually a real big help in terms of like if you're helping with somebody do something. So Julie, you see that blue button top right? Hit OK.
Blue button top right.
Down, you're almost there. Right there.
There.
Perfect. Okay, and now will you do me a favor and will you choose somebody to read this amazing poem?
Okay. Shayla.
I knew it. I just like felt it. I don't know why, but I
should've
must have
turned
put
your
it out in
camera
the
off,
universe. Dang it.
All right, go ahead, Shayla.
Okay, so I'm just starting here at the top. Okay. Julie, engaging, amazing. Let's chat about our meeting while we are sitting and add our sick rhymes while we all work at the same time. Andrew has a stinky dog who fills the room with an awful fog. Hey there, friends. Do you see all this smog? Please watch your step, though, as the floor is covered with frogs. Brian plays the pipes. Never has he flown kites. When it comes to Zoom, it pays to call a pro like John Chen, who makes Zoom come to light.
Wow.
Oh, look at that. John, Devon is one of the best dressed off camera. However, we really don't know if he ever takes showers. Shayla Wayla Walnut found Kayla Wayla Lugnut. Pat, let's take this virtual engagement for a whirl and see how great the results will start to swirl. Devon, Brittany Blue tied her shoe. Then she said, achoo, and said, and saw a caribou.
There we go. Let's give it up for Shayla.
Yay.
Outstanding. All right, Julie, go ahead and stop share. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, what I just really wanted to demonstrate with that is that, you know, you have all these tools at your disposal and you can really do a lot with them. And that's really one of the keys. Let's see. All right, let's see, Julie. I believe you have stop share, otherwise I can share too. One of the ways too, as a producer, is that you can share over when you are the producer or the host of the program. So then let's see. And so sometimes you can share and stop share. All right, great. So let's do this. We're about almost to the end of the class, so let's just see what your recall. One of my top goals for this class is that I can teach people 6 things they can remember in less than 60 minutes. So in engage, what's the E stand for? Now just unmute and shout out one of the words that you remember. You can also make it up. What does the E stand for?
Engage.
Yeah, good. So E is for engage. Engage and interact with every attendee. What's the N stand for?
Never lead a meeting alone.
Genius, right? I believe that was Julie and Brittany. Thank you so much. Never lead a meeting alone. What's the G stand for? First G.
Good looks.
That's right. I believe that was Brian. Brian looks good. All right. Especially in his kilt. All right. Let's see. And G. What's the A stand for?
Air traffic control.
Air traffic control. Brian is again. Last G. What's the last G stand for?
Get productive, virtual tools.
Yeah, Andrew got it. He should remember it's the Google Doc that he connected with his lady with. All right. And the last E, what does the last E stand for?
End on a high note.
There we go. Brian got it. All of a sudden. By the way, I have Jeopardy music stuck on a button so I can do things like this. So if I ever, yeah, that's right. If I ever ask a question, it goes dead in the audience. I just hit the Jeopardy button. At least it's funny. All right. So end on a high note. What I want to do is I want to give you a bunch of gifts here and really end this meeting on a high note. So one of the things for all of you, if you have a piece of paper and a marker, get it, right? And if you're going to be off camera, then be ready to chat. So again, if you can grab a piece of paper and a marker, I'll show you my last end on a high note. Perry's going to chat you a bunch of links here. The first one is we have an Engaging Virtual Meetings Facebook group. It's free. It has almost 1,400 people on it, all passionate about virtual meetings like you, and we keep people up to date with Zoom updates. You can ask almost any Zoom question, Pat, right? So you can actually give other opinions than mine, and there's lots of skilled people there who give answers. In addition to that, we're going to give a link to my conference. It has a discount code. I run a yearly conference. We're on the 3rd version. And October 18th to the 22nd, I gather 9 of the top virtual speakers in the world. We run for 4 hours a day. And let me tell you that if you want to up-level your game, I love my friend Tyler Paris. He said, right, last year was junior high. This year is grad school in terms of virtual meetings. And so he says, you got to up your game, right? If you're still running the same way that you were running in 2020 in March, right, you need to figure out how to up your virtual game. Because, look at the stats. Like I think Shayla will tell us, we don't think it's going to change very soon, right? There's going to definitely be a lot of this. And the other part, I can also tell you, no one ever got Omicron from a virtual meeting, right? So there you go. So there's a conference. In addition to that, this is a new thing that we have, a toolkit. When you, if you buy a ticket for, it's only $97, you get this. This is 24 pieces of a toolkit. It includes a mouse pad, like an on-air door hang so that you can tell people, don't bug me, I'm on a meeting. It has an Ethernet cable. It has a whiteboard sign. So a lot of different tools we all picked specifically because we use them every day in our virtual meetings. Last but not least, if you want all these links, you can click the 3 dots. So if you go to the chat over here, you hit the 3 dots, click Save Chat. And if you're like me, I have no idea where Zoom saved this file. Click Show in Folder. It will open up the dialog box and give you all the chats with all the links. This is a great tip to give people in your existing classes. Last but not least, I'm just going to ask this question. What was the most valuable thing that you learned from these 60 minutes you spent with me? Go ahead and write it down on a piece of paper. Again, what's the most valuable thing? If you're ready, you can also chat it. But this is a end on a high note technique invented by my good friend Kathy Armias. It's called Just One Word. And she wanted to debrief 50 people, but she didn't have much time in the schedule. So she had everyone write out, right, like a word, and then hold it up to the camera. And what she found and kind of discovered, it was really powerful, right? It's analog, but it's very visual. Sometimes it got other people to turn on their cameras, right? And but most importantly, it was a way to give that she got a great feedback in a short amount of time. Quite often, people also gave words that were interesting that allowed for more conversation. So when you're ready, give me a thumbs up that you got your word ready. Good. Andrew's ready. Shayla's ready. Pat's ready. How about Brian? Okay, great. All right, so on the count of 3, go ahead and chat or put your sign up, hold your sign up and leave it up in the camera. All right, there we go. Pat says stand up. Good. Shayla says connection before content. Andrew says participation map. And Brian says if it's not Scottish, it sucks. Oh, just kidding. Excellent. All right, so thank you so much for that. Everyone, let's just wave bye to our Facebook audience, and if you want to stay afterwards, I can stay up to 20 minutes after class and answer any questions I didn't answer during this class. Thank you again. I look forward to seeing you next time, and thank you again to our Facebook audience. Here we go.
It's always